Okay, we are live. Good evening, Rosebuds. Welcome to another episode of Full Bloom here on the Hill of Roses. We have a big treat for you today in bringing you some of the best independent contributors to our policy movement to bring power to people like you. Heidi, you want to let them know who we got on today's program?
Yes, I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this conversation. We have someone that's very interesting, very provocative, and I just am so excited to speak to the one and only Vermin Supreme today. He is the former Libertarian presidential candidate and the famous boot on the head presidential candidate. Everybody wants to know about that boot. We have a lot of things to go over with him, including universal basic ponies, and let's get into it.
Hey, how you doing, Vermin?
Hey, Vince, hi, how are you?
Doing great, how are you?
Wonderful, thank you for having me here this evening.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. What have you been up to lately? I mean, can you give us a day in the kind of life of Vermin? I mean, everybody's really curious about who you are as a person. I know I am. So what's going on with you lately?
Well, for a while there, I was doing a daily live stream where I would walk through the woods and look for beautiful things to share with my viewers. And I think that was pretty much started back in April when the COVID thing hit really hard and when a lot of people were locked at home. And I just felt it would be nice to be able to share some nature, my nature walks and walking to the ocean and with the people. And so I started doing that on almost a daily basis for several months, just about an hour or so every day. And it was always very interesting. Different. Sometimes people were asking questions. Other times we weren't, and they're just chiming in. Sometimes I would talk. Sometimes I wouldn't. And it was just really sort of a Zen thing. And
what was your favorite thing you found on those nature walks? What would you say was the most beautiful thing you encountered?
Oh my goodness! We were starting to see wildlife because most of these are right around my yard. So I think seeing the beaver was really special.
Okay.
Just sitting there chewing away, and we've had some deers on the show, and sometimes random passerbys. But it's always really nice. I think finding just a nice a body of water or a little creek or a little stream or the ocean, and just finding a nice framing for it and just creating this moment where we can all sort of share and look. That sort of tapered off recently because it was berry season. So the blueberries and the June berries were in full tilt. And so for several weeks, I've been giving myself a quota of picking a quart of berries. And so we've been having a lot of berry pie and things like that. I know, not very political at all. Not very political at all. But
where are you? Are you in the Pacific Northwest or something? Where are you?
I live on the East Coast.
East Coast. Okay.
The tip of the Cape Ann Peninsula, actually. Gloucester, Rockport, Massachusetts. On a clear day, we can see New Hampshire, and on the other side of the peninsula, we can see the Boston skyline. And me and my wife have just been living in this little modest rustic house in the woods here for about 30 years now. And I've got an 18-hole mini putt-putt golf course that we call Verm Largo. And many high-powered political decisions are made there, of course. A lot of wheeling and dealing and stuff. Since I guess it has been a little while since I did not receive the nomination of the Libertarian Party.
I know, I was very sad about that.
Yeah, it was a very interesting year, a crazy year. For the past 30 years, I've been, running a completely farcical, satirical, pretend campaign based on ponies, zombies, and toothbrushing. And, on any given election year, it would be a week or two up in the New Hampshire primary, glomming on all that crazy media and interacting with all the other candidates. And then maybe go down to the conventions and then maybe the inauguration. So every 4 years, I put in about a month of doing this full tilt persona. And but people liked it so much, it really brought it to this level a level where almost like, a pretty wild level. Every election cycle it would replenish. Every 4 years, like new kids would learn about it, and the old kids would be remembered of it. Now it's at a point where I'm talking to parents whose their children independently discover Vermin Supreme, and so I'm all intergenerational, and
my brother's a big fan. I have to ask Vermin, like, what was the origin of that satire? Like, what gave you that moment where it's like, I'm going to put the boot on the head, we're going to go with the ponies? What inspired you to start that process?
Essentially, I was living in Baltimore, Maryland. I was doing bookings and promotions at a couple nightclubs. That's when I first became Vermin Supreme. It wasn't political at first. It was like all club owners, all booking agents, all promoters were Vermin, and I was the Vermin Supreme. And I was a little like sort of cigar chopping character on the stage, and so that was the beginning of that. And so it was a small transition to all politicians are Vermin, and I'm the Vermin Supreme. I first declared that I was going to run for office in 1987 in Baltimore, Maryland. And once again, it was not a particularly political thing. It's just because I'd been doing the nightclub thing, a toehold in the community, and could parlay that into a not real mayoral campaign, just as a project, something to do. In the meantime, shortly after that, I burnt out on Baltimore. I left Baltimore when the Great Peace March for Global Nuclear Disarmament rolled through in 1987, I think it was, and or 1986 that was. And then I became an anti-nuclear activist and started traveling the country with a group called Seeds of Peace, promoting logistical support to political marches and demonstrations, peace walks that would go from one across the state or whatever. And so I was starting to do that. And a year passed, and then I remembered that I said I was going to run for mayor of Baltimore, Maryland, and I oh goodness, I guess I better go run for the mayor, because I still felt connected because I had been there for so long. And I went to a human guinea pig drug study in Boston. I became a human guinea pig, and I forget what it was that I was testing, but they were taking lots of blood samples to test the absorption, and in this dormitory situation. And I did that for a 30-day lab rat study. I think I got $1,000 for it, and I used that money to pay for computer typesetting, because that's what you had to do back then, and for printing. I had like about 500 11 by 14 posters printed up that said "Vermin Supreme is your mayor. Demand a recount." And during the time in the study, that is when I wrote really what has become my stump speech. I am Vermin Supreme. I am a friendly fascist, a tyrant you can trust. Let me run your life. I know what is best for you. All politicians are vermin. I am the Vermin Supreme. That is what I'm most qualified candidate in this race at this time. I will promise you anything your little heart desires. You are my constituents. You are the informed voting public, and I have no intention of keeping any promise that I make. And so that's, I wrote that and there for that campaign, and it's sort of become a stump speech that's evergreen, and it goes on forever. And so then I went down to Baltimore and campaigned for a few days, and started working that concept of running for office into the political demonstrations that I was attending, using that as sort of a reason to speak through a bullhorn while doing de-escalation and peacekeeping type of activities. It was during that time that I started attending the rainbow gatherings. If you all know the National Family of Rainbow Living, Love, and Light giant hippie gatherings in the woods, those ones?
Yeah.
Yep. So I started attending those, honing some of my clowning skills and doing whatever I could do to make people laugh, because you can pretty much do whatever you want there and create your own reality. So I was doing that. And after a few years, I discovered that another one of the many services that we as a community provide for ourselves in that event is security. And so I started paying closer attention to that, which, in the crisis counseling situation, essentially it's glorified camp counselor, but, it is a lot of crisis intervention and de-escalation. And one of the services that we provide is escorts for cops, and not sex escorts, of course. No, sex work is work, but no,
you never know.
Physically escorting the cops. And so I would spend 8 hours shifts a day walking with a group of a dozen state troopers and feds, and trying to keep them out of trouble and trying to keep and warn the hippies that the cops were in their vicinity and making fun of the cops and having fun with the cops, making fun of them and propagandizing the cops and trying to give them context to see what they were, experiencing. And so that, and of course, doing so, I would push it a little bit further than I would in a lot of situations because people were watching my back. I mean, not because of the situation where I was. And interestingly enough, I've been arrested more at rainbow gatherings than out in demonstrations because I am able to play a slightly different role where if something is going on, I can go in and become a distraction and draw them away and sort of they'll arrest me naturally because I'll give them such a runaround and rigmarole, and then they'll drive me like a half mile down the road and kick me out of the car. Done it time and time again. But where it's out on the streets, I try and stay not getting arrested if I can help it because I'm more useful being out. So doing that, I was able to. I started building this skill set. Based on these different ideas of peacekeeping at the demonstrations and the marches and not, practicing direct nonviolent action and doing the rainbow gatherings for the same thing. And then bringing these skills out into the demonstration world where, they're between the protesters and the police, there is this space and it's a vacuum and anything can happen. And sometimes it does. And I discovered that I could occupy that space, that I could walk into that space with my bullhorn and with my boot on my head, sometimes not, but just a clown nose minimally, just to try and be disarming for the police, and using humor and talking serious things and giving safety information to the crowd, letting them know of the chemical agents that might be used and how, if they're asthmatic, they should get a little far upwind, and if they're take your contacts out and walk, don't run, and watch your people's back, and we do have an exit over here. We are not kettled, and just these things that can to avoid crowd panic. And then sort of, reading riot control manuals to the police to sort of establish that how I believe that the FBI believe in the State Department, how these people believe that that they should conduct themselves in a professional fashion and things of that nature. And being successful. Anecdotally, people would tell me that, they felt much safer with me around and that I was, decreasing the likelihood of violence and started exploring different ways to do this sort of clown psyops. I remember one time at G8 in Pittsburgh, in front of the museum where the dinosaurs are and stuff. The riot police were making their move. It was an FTP parade. And of course, for some reason, the police always take that personally. And they start banging their shields and doing this thing. And I had this little device that played the chicken dance. And so I was playing that over my bullhorn full blast while the riot police are trying to be all badass, and it just completely changed.
A little disarming, yeah.
The protesters, it dispelled fear. That is one of the weapons the police use is fear, and if we can dispel that portion of it, it can make things safer just like that. And so by creating this situation where the police were trying to be all intimidated but ended up looking completely ridiculous, the people were able to deal with it. It carried over where in the transport vehicles, the people were the people all cuffed and tear gas are all stomp with their feet, and they brought it into the jails, and they would it was a unifying thing and became sort of this theme. So by using these devices and skills and changing things up, I gained this level of notoriety as a candidate and going to New Hampshire, the first in the nation primary, and hijacking the media and hijacking the other candidates, and just became this thing that I became. Vermin Supreme, the candidate figure, whatever. I obviously much bigger than my flesh and bones bag here. But it gave me this level of notoriety and reach and audience that I was able to make a legitimate offer to the Libertarian Party of my services as a candidate.
Yeah, I'm curious. Why did you go with the Libertarian Party compared to some of the other third parties?
Well, they sort of reached out to me in 2016. Boomer Shannon out of California was trying to say, "Oh, Vermin, you'd be great to headline this little fundraiser we're trying to do," and blah blah blah. And so I was out there doing this other little Hollywood project, and we made that happen. And and so I met them, and of course, up in New Hampshire they have the Free State Project, and so that's a lot of libertarians have moved there to try and sway it electorally and things like that. So I had, because of my work running in New Hampshire, started working more closely with them. In 2016, the leader of the Youth Caucus reached out and wanted to bring me to the International Students for Liberty conference in DC. So they flew me down, me and my wife, and gave us food vouchers. And it's like, okay, fine. I always try and make something like that a date for my wife if I can, because she's not really, she's seen it all. She's played out on it. And the bit they just gave me total carte blanche to do whatever bit I wanted to do, interrupting their president giving his opening speech remarks. And so I did, and I went there and I did my scorching rendition of the Star Spangled Banner on the bullhorn with the feedback screaming. It's sort of this Jimi Hendrix thing.
Yeah,
really wild stuff, and got to tell him about the ponynomics, and threw a bunch of glitter at him and told him that Peter Kropotkin told me to turn them into a bunch of social anarchists. And it was very fun, and everybody loved it. And I got so much love that I felt like, well, maybe I should check into this libertarian thing a little bit. And as a result, I went down to the Orlando convention in 2016 and pretended to run a little bit and was hustling up tokens and, jumping all over Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson, there he is. Go get him. And I'm just having too much fun. And I was doing these things that any other convention would have thrown me out of my ear. Any other party the security would have been all over me. But what I discovered is that half the people there really, really, really liked the fact that I was there, and the other half did not like it at all. And the half that really, really liked it, the other half did not like it.
Very interesting. Yes,
So I felt that I had a fan base, and a base of support in the party, and I sort of left it at that. I was just, as far as I knew, I was just going to wait another 4 years and run another pretend campaign. But sometime in 2018, Desiree Lindsay, my campaign manager from Texas, reached out to me and asked me if I was interested in running a more serious reality-based campaign for the LP nomination. And I had to give it some thought, weigh the pros, weigh the cons. Obviously, it was the closest opportunity I would ever have to get on all 50 ballots, for example. Yeah. And it would certainly be a very interesting way to, the synergy was there. The Libertarian Party gets a fair amount of press on its own, especially in the presidential time. And I definitely get a fair amount of press. And we just speculated that together it would be an unstoppable movement. And so, the past year, it was my first real campaign, raised more money than I'd spent on 30 years of previous campaigns combined, and attended, a couple dozen state conventions, and a little bit of an uphill battle, because we're overcoming this perception that I'm a maniac, that I'm a meme, and wear a boot on my head. And so I had to go to these events and convince them that no, the boot is not attached to my head. No, I am not my character. No, I am not always on. I am not always disruptive. And I'm a very reasonable person with this reasonable offer that I'm putting on the table. And the people working on my campaign, and we had people from the right and the left end of the party, because once again, one of the misconceptions, Libertarian Party is right-leaning monolith. No, it is not. It has an internal left-right spectrum. It has its own Libertarian Socialist Caucus. I mean, goodness gracious. But a lot of people don't know that, and it surprises them. Surprised me.
Yeah.
And so I started, having to, be this sort of new character, almost serious Vermin, and of course, I come from my left anarchist perspective. I cut my teeth on Kropotkin, but ultimately I discovered that I could dovetail my beliefs with the Libertarian Party platform. There ultimately it's a status document. It acknowledges the state, and of course, its priorities might be a little different than mine. Whereas mine is to establish Ponatopia on Earth. But it's consistently. I mean, because you go to some of these debates, you're going to hear some of the candidates say, day number 1, we are abolishing Medicare. Day number 2, we're abolishing Social Security. Number 3, we're abolishing the FDA and the CDC and the IRS and all these things. And it was like, okay, ultimately those are consistent with anarchist principles of dissolving the government, etc. But unless you're going to be presenting a concrete proposal of how we will get from there to there, you're going to come off like crazy people, normal people. Okay. And so I'd be going to these things and they'd be throwing red meat to the libertarians in the attempt to get but it's these things, yes, they're consistent, but I believe that if you're not offering alternatives and examples, then you are doomed to failure. You're not going to be able to sell those ideas. So I spent this year, really trying to figure out how much a serious humor blend. During the debates, I discovered that I could start out with a funny joke, because you have like 7, 12 candidates, libertarian candidates, because of course in America anybody can say they're running for president, and it's a beautiful thing because once you say you are, it becomes a fact. Nobody can prove you're not. And in the Libertarian Party, anybody can run for anything and say they're a libertarian. There's no mechanism to prevent that from happening. So it's a great thing, democracy. And so I would start out with a joke. Yes, I am going to outlaw COVID-19. I will create COVID-19 free zones because it works so good with guns and drugs and stuff. I will go back in time and kill baby COVID. I am going to build an antimicrobial, antiviral, microscopic wall around America and dig a moat and fill it with hand sanitizer. And then go into and pivot it back to the platform and give a more serious analysis. Because when you're running for president and debating as someone who's running for president, a lot of times you'll find yourself answering a question, or at least I did, where I am, trying to answer it how I think and feel, and how I think that fusing that with how I think that they want what they want to hear, and how they think that they want me to say it, and just like talking out your ass. And trying to sound authoritative, trying to say it like, you mean it. And
a lot of it's the showman aspect.
All previously, I would happily tell you what I think or feel or my analysis or something, but it's always prefaced as my opinion, because I never present myself as a pundit or nothing. It's just like, yeah, we all have ideas. These are mine, and I use these devices and techniques to propel my ideas forward. Or at least my, silly ideas.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely want to get into some of the silly ideas that are super fun, like the, ponies, of course. We have to talk about that. I did want to touch on what you think about the future of, the left libertarians, like in the Libertarian Party. Do you think that there's, could be, a movement more towards the left libertarians in the future? Like, what was your experience there, and how do you feel about where the party is right now and where it's going?
Well, I believe a part of what our campaign was doing was attempting to create a cultural shift.
Okay.
I believe it's a cultural shift that a lot of people have been working on, and I believe part of my campaign, of course, because I come from the left background and seem to have an appeal and an audience to the left, and trying to let them know that the Libertarian Party is a place where they could be welcome and come and exercise influence on such things as the party platform and party politics and party bylaws and all these things. I mean, the Libertarian Party is a somewhat malleable thing. I mean, it's a party for people, and pretty much we are the it's a party that comprised of anarchists and minarchists. And our belief is that if you are, especially the bottom unity concept, the Nolan chart, the four quadrants, the authoritarian right, authoritarian left, and the anti-authoritarian right, and so essentially we consider ourselves the Libertarian Party to be able to span the lower left quadrants, and we have coined this phrase "bottom unity," and it's that the left and the right, anti-authoritarians, anti-statists, need to cooperate and work together against our common enemy, the state. And I believe that has been successful. I know when the oh geez, a bug flew down my throat. When the Libertarian Socialist Caucus first came in, a lot of people were deriding it as, a libertarian socialist. That's like a banana octopus. And,
right. Oxymoron.
Yeah, absolutely. But once it became an established thing, and once, the cross-pollination essentially occurred at, hand to hand, face to face, meeting people, and I think a lot of these people, who are so absorbed into their bubble are just that, in their bubble, and they don't. And there's not a lot of cross pollination going on, because there are, certainly different schools of libertarian thought, and there's the Georgian school, rent seeking, try to avoid rent seeking, and we had Judge Jim Gray, who was a candidate this year, was proposing a negative income tax, which was just a little too close to UBI and got crushed. I'd say the right leaning is still dominant in the party. However, my campaign, we made it to the fourth ballot. I ended up with over 20+% of 1,000 delegates who believed that Vermin Supreme candidacy was indeed a savvy, clever way to propel the party into the future.
Oh yeah, I think you would have gone to the 5% threshold that everyone's right over, frankly, from those unconventional appeals.
I absolutely know you would have. Yeah, I mean, just from judging by the youth energy behind your campaign, your ads were amazing, better than anybody else's ads, frankly. I think, in the general, I think it would have been, really fun.
Oh, the momentum going in that last week before the convention when the ads were dropping, and the electricity, it was intense.
There would have been such a deal. But so I wanted to ask you, Vermin, how did you feel about the general process? Eventually the party nominated Jo Jorgensen, who I think she came in third in the total votes around the country for the primary. How do you feel about Jo in the process?
Well, the thing to understand about the primaries is they're essentially meaningless. I mean,
that's how it goes.
Libertarian primaries, they're straw polls, and they don't count for nothing. They really don't. In the final analysis, it is the 1,000+ delegates at the nominating convention have the full power. There are no delegates that are bound by the primaries. So there is that. So and that is odd. And of course, I guess there's some argue. I mean, the delegates are apportioned to the various states. Some states have different numbers, and I think that's based on their. I'm not sure exactly what that's based on. I think the COVID very much interfered with my ability to work the crowd, because I had found that attending all the state conventions live, I was able to change a lot of minds. People who were really dead set, who despise the idea of it. I was able to get them to at least agree with the simple idea that out of the group of candidates, I was the best one to get 5%. That I could, bring in a shit ton of young people to the party. That draw a lot of eyeballs and create a moment and maybe a movement. And of course, it would have really worked with the civil unrest angle and all that. We could have taken off like a rocket. Nothing against Jo and Spike's campaign, of course, but we did have a lot of success. It's just the fact that we came that far and that happened. That I came into this running over a year ago just as the joke candidate, a candidate who was only run as a joke prior to that, to be able to successfully convince so many people who were dead. I met people who were trolling hard against me and who apologized for it, like after a debate or something. Vermin, you don't know us, but we've said terrible things about you, man, and we're not going to do that anymore. And
yeah, once you see someone face to face, it becomes a lot harder to be mean, especially when you're like, yeah, this is a tool that we're using here.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't trolling them. I was offering them the opportunity to troll America in the duopoly with me.
Yes, that would have been lovely.
Absolutely.
Especially this cycle. Oh.
We can take consolation in the fact that it is in fact occurring in a parallel universe.
No, that's true.
That's true.
It's all here in my book, I Pony for a New America.
That's
It is a book about the future. A future long after a Vermin Supreme presidency, after everybody has their pony, after zombie power fuels the nation, and after the secret dental police have set up checkpoints every couple hundred yards.
It is a warning. Book, man. I think I need to get a copy of this.
Oh, it is a warning from the people of the future to you, the people of their past, your present, that Vermin Supreme is a madman and must be stopped.
Well, I want to hear more about that. I mean, can you go more into your pony policy? I want to hear all the details, what you think would be the benefits, like how it's going to go down, like, what's the pony policy for the people?
Oh, you bet. But first, I want to flash you a little bit of.
Please.
Yeah. And where can people get this book?
Oh, this book is available at iPonybook.com.
iPonybook.com, people.
I don't know if you can see that, but it's
oh boy,
pony erotica. It's,
okay.
So there's a lot of great artwork in there, and it's not all about pony erotica. There's a lot of great artwork, and of course, a lot of people ask me. They say, "Hey, Vermin, is it true that we're going to be literally using ponies as currency?" And I say to these people, don't be silly. That would be ridiculous until we can make them really, really small. And I do have scientists working on that, by the way. Now, the important thing to understand about a pony-based economy is, of course, and once again, a lot of people also ask me, Vermin, who's going to pay for these free ponies? And I say to these people, what part of free don't you understand? They're free ponies, and if they really don't get it, then I really have to explain to them, sometimes in graphic detail, that when a boy pony likes a girl pony and they think they might want to get together, especially if the girl pony is in heat, then they might go over to the corner of the field, and that boy pony will mount the girl pony and hold him in a special pony hug. And then, I don't know how graphic you want me to get, really. But then they finish up, and 13 months later, boom, free pony. Okay? All right. So there's that. So anyway, once everybody owns their free ponies, we will, of course, in addition to owning ponies, we will own equity in our ponies. Now, of course, once you have equity in something, you know that it can become collateral and you can borrow against it. So essentially what we're doing right off the bat is creating a class of pony-based debt. Now, debt, of course, as you know, is a very integral, very important part of any economy. You can buy debt, you can sell debt, you can sell parts of your country on debt. You can make, national savings bonds and here, buy some of our debt. Okay. And countries own each other's debt. And so debt is the thing. And banks make so much money off it. I mean, banks, that's the bank business model, is debt and credit cards and all that stuff. So debt's a very great thing to create. So we're creating more debt essentially for America. And what this does, we'll be able to bring in the bestest and the brightest and the smartest from all the Ivy League schools, who will be help Wall Street create these incredibly opaque, incredibly dense, completely impossible to understand financial instruments based on pony-based debt. Yes, friends, what we're doing is creating a pony-based debt bubble in the economy. And it's going to be a huge, big, giant bubble in the economy. And that's great because, when a bubble's in the economy, when a bubble's happening, everything is happening. It is great. All cylinders are firing. Everybody's making money. Wall Street's doing great. Of course, but like you point out, sometimes bubbles burst. However, this bubble is going to be different. This pony-based debt bubble is going to be reinforced and steel belted and last forever.
Yay!
Yay. Yeah.
So I have to ask, is there such a thing in this pony-based economics of like pony inflation? Could the ponies ever become less valuable themselves? Because like, I don't know, like we have nice ponies today. If we make more ponies, each one's going to feel a little less special.
Well, I guess such policy would be best be left up to the Federal Pony Reserve. I would imagine.
Here.
But of course, another important thing is, you will be able to name your pony. You will be able to choose the color of your pony. You'll be able to choose the flavor of your pony, how many legs you want your pony to have, racing stripes, whatever. We can make that happen. Hypoallergenic ponies, if you're allergic to ponies, because some people try to weasel out claiming they are. And of course, robo ponies, because the thing to understand is during the transition times, sort of all bets are off. Anything could happen. Yes, you will receive conversion kits for your current day pets that will help turn them into ponies. But once things start happening, though, it's going to be a boon for the American economy. I mean, we're going to be bringing back the buggy whip maker. I mean, geez.
Do you worry about the potential climate change all these ponies could create? Like all the extra gas that they could create as a currency? Like, why the pony itself? I'm curious why you thought the pony is the death.
First, let me point out that science has addressed this issue. If you actually go online and Google this up, scientists have actually created methane capture units that they attach to cows. I don't know if you've seen that, but they somehow, I think they poke the tubes into the cow's stomach or something and siphon off the methane gas and fills up these big backpack things. It's really weird. So that, prototypes are there, is all I'm saying. The ponies, like many of my major proposals, started out small. In the demonstrations that we used to attend, I would consider myself sort of a chant buster. And so people would do different chants, and I would like derail the chant by throwing in some sort of nonsense. And one of the steady chants was, what do we want? Peace. What do we want it now? When do we want it now? And so I would start, I would just sort of take that over. The person would yell, what do we want? And I'd yell out, ponies, for the bullhorn. And then after a few rounds, everybody was yelling out ponies. And I would, and when do we want them? And why do we want them? What are we going to do with them when we get them? Where can I get mine? What are you going to name yours? So it started out like that. And then it sort of evolved to this idea of a free pony for every American. And I'm sure you've heard the vernacular free pony. It's used in the press all the time now.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident that I coined that phrase. I brought that into the vernacular, into being, by presenting the Free Ponies for All Americans in 2012. Prior to that time, the most play that ponies got was that chestnut that Ronald Reagan used to talk about the boy who was so excited shoveling the shit in the stable, and the guy comes up and says, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you so excited?" And the kid shoveling the shit says, "There's so much shit, there must be a pony in here somewhere." And so once again, and like many of the things that I traffic in, they're symbolic of other things, but they have such cultural resonance and cultural significance. And ponies have their own special place in the hearts and minds of many Americans. Maybe not every little boy and girl wanted a pony at some point, but it's there, and it sort of brings up this warm fuzzy. And so that's sort of the basis, and then you start to work on the cognitive dissonance that I like to traffic in, and create this sort of little Discordian confusion. Dental hygiene, brushing your teeth, that's good. Oh, but a law? What, secret dental police? Dental re-education centers? Preventative dental maintenance detention facilities? Government issued toothpaste containing an addictive yet harmless substance? Wait a minute. No, but it's brushing your teeth. It's good for you. Okay. Oh, it's a free pony? But it's the federal pony identification system. Oh, that's different. So yeah, I've just been very, very lucky to be able to find these things that seem to resonate, that people like, and that I've been able to milk for 30 years. Yay! I mean, some people have to work up new material all the time. Not me, baby. No, it's all ponies all the time. I don't know. I mean, who thought that, be a great satire is just interspersing the word pony in every few words?
Honestly, that's honestly so much of how now news is coming out is by doing these satirical things. So I think this is a great tool for people to understand it. I'd love to hear, like, Vermin, do you have a next policy coming? What do you think the American people need to know about next in terms of Vermin Supreme?
I don't know. That's a secret. It's a very secret, top secret. We have our secret pretend policy committee working right now. Yeah, we'll launch. I mean, the interstate roller coaster. The interstate roller coaster is an underappreciated platform plank, but it's there. It's a boondoggle, of course, as they are. But it's a thing. But let me tell you about the Vermin Supreme Institute.
Yes.
That's probably what you'd like to hear about. I'd like to talk about that.
Yes, please.
What we have done, because the Vermin Supreme Institute is a thing. It's a real thing now. And what we did is we added the word institute to my name.
Sounds like Mike Gravel a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Yes, very much so. And so previously I was just it was Vermin Supreme, which two words sort of stuck together also that sort of complement one another. And yes, sir. But the institute makes it sound totally freaking legit.
Yeah.
It gives us a gravitas.
Yeah.
That the words Vermin Supreme alone don't have.
Yes.
And so it was very tough. We were trying to decide in the running, were we going to be the Vermin Supreme Institute or the Vermin Supreme Initiative? I like the initiative. I like the, implied action verb. Initiative. But we decided that as a institute, we could have initiatives underneath us. We could sponsor initiatives, if you will. Essentially, it's a spin-off of Team Supreme, the campaign team, because during the course of the campaign, we collected, over 100 volunteers at one point. We had people from the left and the right of the Libertarian Party and outside the party and former Yang gangers and staffers and former Bernie peoples and Tulsi and Klobuchar leaners, and so we attracted quite a group of creative and politically minded people, and who all agreed that in addition to the idea of using the nonlinear messaging, the idea of using satire and humor and direct action and promoting mutual aid and charity and volunteerism and all these things, who felt that I was a good vehicle to be able to do that. And of course, during the campaign, I was allowing them to do that, and I deferred to their judgments because they knew the lay of the land and what we were trying to accomplish there. But we wanted to continue. This very amorphous project that I've loosely been working on for so long, and in proclaiming that we're an institute and becoming an institute, because now we are a 501c4. Not-for-profit, it's used by a lot of sketchy political organizations. So we thought we would do that too. We can spend up to 50% of our take on political things. And can be towards administrative things, or philanthropic things. So we are an educational institute currently. We're starting off slow with our projects, but we're recognizing activists as part of our Beautiful People's projects and people doing really nice things. We are promoting forgotten history or lesser known history, and of course if everything's been done under the sun, and essentially it's like, a lot of things that we're doing or trying to do have been done, but we're just trying to give it a little vermin flavor sauce, if you will. This is breaking. It's breaking. I don't think my staff knows this. I don't think the institute knows this. This is a scoop, scoop for you all. In the very near future, in the next couple of weeks, I will be meeting with and producing some content with Lord Buckethead.
Oh,
Okay.
hey, that's going to be big.
Space alien. As you may remember, Lord Buckethead did in fact come out to play during the New Hampshire primaries.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the live ponies. Oh my God, how much fun was that? Live ponies and Lord Buckethead. But yeah, so we are going to get together and start producing educational content. Are you familiar with the Learning with Vermin series?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I've seen a little bit of it. I'm not an avid, but I've seen it.
Tell me about it. What?
Yeah. It was a 3-part series, and it was just a side project. It was an election year project. This gentleman reached out and was interested if I was interested in doing some sort of thing, and essentially it was using a fictionalized version of my campaign and in character to create an educational 3-part series on the different types of voting, and it covered all the types of voting. And I think we kidnapped this professor and tied her up with shoelaces and the zombies, and there was a lot of vomiting because we had all these volunteers from across the country, and we were like voting on what to eat, and so that was the pretext of showing the different types of voting. So we had all these volunteers voting the different methods of voting each time, and they kept ending up with the same Kentucky Fried Lobster and vomiting. It's really educational. So we're hoping to create things that are educational, informative, entertaining, and with a little bit of vermin thrown in just to whatever.
So it better be a lot of vermin. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and we're also I'm reaching out to different sketch comedy troupes and offering them the opportunity to make like illustrate a logical fallacy for us.
Cool.
So things like that, things that aren't totally, a lot of things are done a lot and some aren't, and we're trying to do a lot of things are happening, and if we do really well, oh my goodness, then we could, if a lot of people give us money and we get like money because yeah, sure, I got an endowment, but the institute doesn't. Then we can give away money. I mean, the more money that people give us, the more we can give away. Ultimately,
you can give away money. Okay.
Forward here.
Well, yeah. I mean, or grants, or little awards or grants or whatever, if we can get to that point.
Okay.
No promises.
Do you have thoughts about giving away money in general and universal basic income? Your personal opinion?
Well, I think anybody who wants to give away their money should give away their money. Absolutely. I was just on a podcast, nerds. Yang-based
Nerds for Humanity
podcast.
That on Sunday.
Nerds for Humanity. I was just on there just before the show. In fact, I was just hanging out with Tom, and ultimately, it's a little bit of a non-starter in the Libertarian Party. It's just not going to fly because it would be a government program. I like the arguments that it would cut out the bureaucracy portion of the poverty relief efforts of the government. So that's always a good thing. But the fact that the tax money is collected at the point of coercion, threat of jail, and all that stuff just won't fly. But on the other hand, libertarians are not against universal health care, just against the government administrating it. So would libertarians, are we against universal basic income? No, as long as the government doesn't do it. But I don't know who else is going to do it. So.
Okay, so you have to get a bunch of billionaires.
I personally am very sympathetic to the needs and the wants and the desires of the people, because I'm a very empathetic and caring individual like that.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, unfortunately, that's something I've never understood a little bit from the libertarian perspective. Like, how do they feel about the corporate power out there currently?
Generally,
are there any concerns about that? Like, how do they try to help the poor?
I would say that the libertarians in general are against the corporatocracy government fusion hybrid. I believe that we would be against the collusion between the governments and the revolving doors and the lobbyists and all of that. to skew the playing field. I mean, I believe the basic idea or the belief in of libertarianism is that it should be an equal playing field, that we should all have access to the same initial, I mean, we should have our resources. Everybody should be able to put together a business if they want to do that they could, whether it be purchasing the means of production by themselves or convincing investors to chip in to collect a little bit of money on top of that for their pockets or whatever. That's fine. But when the government comes in and starts like making that impossible due to various regulations or permit restrictions, I mean, when a person can't just do somebody's hair in their own home or something, or any the licensing requirements, and certainly up to the level where the government, I mean, clearly in the platform itself, under the energy, it's no fuel or energy should be subsidized at all, really. I mean, the market should dictate what is the fuel that will fuel that person's vehicle, home, or life. It is arguable that the government's decision to bankroll and subsidize the fossil fuel industries to the tunes of billions and billions and billions of dollars certainly contributed to the climate disaster currently unfolding. The fact that they, the various whole structure that allowed the cigarette companies to get so large and continue peddling their wares, and I don't know. Yeah. I'd say as a rule, it's one of those things where the left and the right almost talk past one another.
Yeah.
Because I was consider myself or describe myself as anti-capitalist earlier on. Now I don't give so much a fuck, but but was I against all capitalism? Was I against mom and pop stores? Was I against lemonade stands? Was I against the gas station there on the corner? No, not really. Was I against corporate capitalism? Yes, absolutely. So there are terms, and even the term socialist, where it's like a lot of people get this knee jerk. Anytime the government does anything, anytime the government that's socialism, or anytime anybody gets anything from the government, that's social.
Yeah, it's got that hand. Yeah.
So I think a lot would help us if we just could define the terms and just be flexible enough and not so invested in our own personal worldview that it plays proxy for our favorite sports team and we get all upset and and
right,
yelling at each other and trying to own each other, and instead of trying to convince or compromise or try and figure something out that might work for the benefit of all parties involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to ask you something before we start to get into questions from the audience. I don't know if John had anything, but I certainly do. I wanted to know, one thing I've been trying to just think about and conceptualize is how we can make this whole politics thing, hell of a lot more fun, because, people just aren't like excited about it. And you've been somewhat of a master in this area. And I would love your insights on how we can make a movement more exciting, more fun, bring more people in, more open thought, dialogue, more love. What are your ideas for that? How can we move forward, in a really positive, fun, exciting way to bring more people in?
Well, hopefully the Vermin Supreme Institute can facilitate just such a thing. Although we'll see. Obviously, the people must demand fun. The people want fun. They must demand fun. People must not rely on the corporations to provide humor or entertainment or music. The people must create it themselves. We must take, understand that we have a responsibility to ourselves and to our others to entertain ourselves and entertain each other, and really want to entertain. And don't be afraid of being entertaining or being silly or stupid or trying to make people laugh or being silly. And it can sometimes be protective. I mean, the clown blocks at the demonstrations have always been an inspirational thing when they, because being a clown, you can just take on this level of clownish authority, and the real authorities don't know exactly what to do with it.
Yes.
So yeah, that's it's always great. And delegitimizing authority by mocking them. I believe that is a real thing, and that is definitely a
Has no
revolutionary
clothes at the
goal.
end of the day. You're absolutely right there. They need to be taken down a little bit of a peg.
Yes, I think that the Brits have the phrase, taking the piss out of someone, and I think it's like that. Taking a peg or two, or just making them seem ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, you look at Zelensky over in the Ukraine. They elected a television comedian. And other funny people have been elected into office. So yeah, anything's possible. Anything's possible. But I'm very happy and glad that I've been able to do my part to it. And yeah, I think that people just need to take it upon themselves. And there are some pretty funny things going on out there.
That's for sure. So did you want to get to some of those fun?
Yeah, let's go with some fan questions.
Yeah.
First one we got here. This comes from Chris Math 97. This is about your pony economic plan. What if a pony is not right for the owner, or what if a person can't take care of a pony? What happens in those situations for those people who say, "I don't want a pony"?
What's FFG? FJ?
That means federal jobs guarantee.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Sarah. And where is what's Aleppo?
So, oh, Gary.
Anyway, I don't think that's a reasonable concern. I'm not really sure how a pony would not be right for the owner, because of course you'll be having a lot of input, and I think you'll just any individual will be so overwhelmed with love and emotion and endorphins and serotonins for their pony. I can't imagine a situation where they win it. And if a person's perhaps physically unable to take care of their pony, I'm sure there would be many members of the community and many other happy pony owners and service ponies that would probably help the other ponies see it through. So yes, it would of course be through mutual aid and cooperation and love and compassion that it would all work. That those are the linchpins of Ponytopia. Yes.
Okay, let's go to our next question here. Anna asks, she might have missed this or not, but how do you envision us getting out of the current mess? I think a lot of people are suffering right now from the pandemics. You've seen these protests that have been going around the country recently. What do you think is the path forward for people that are currently faced with 2020 right now? What do you think they need to get doing?
Well, I believe we must all come together and attempt to repair the tear in the time-space continuum that has seemed to brought us into this current reality. I do have scientists working on it in the past and the present and the future, and I am cautiously optimistic that we will return to a Vermin Supreme presidency timeline. In the meantime, I do believe that, of course, it is incumbent to keep on keeping on and continuing. Of course, the COVID crisis has not been solved by the feds. The feds never came knocking on my door to see if I was okay. They didn't knock on my neighbor's door, and I believe it's neighbors checking in on neighbors and friends checking in on friends and practicing mutual aid and good deeds and doing everything that we can for ourselves and trying to build up our communities and creating institutions on our local level that can help pick up a lot of the slack. Obviously, there is going to be a lot of need, and it does. It could be a very, very difficult time in our world.
Yeah.
It will indeed be through mutual aid and love and charity and compassion. And I hope that we are up to that task.
Yeah,
Yes,
I hope you're right.
I agree with that. There were questions. I mean, there's so many questions that I kind of lost.
Yeah, there's a lot. Let's put this one. I'd love to talk about Spike Cohen a little bit. He was originally, I think you guys were friendly together, and he became the vice presidential nominee for the party. Can you tell us what your
now he's my arch enemy. Oh, yes, you know. We were friends, but now we're enemies, or what's the other way around? I'm not really sure. Well, Spike Cohen is an amazing person. He's a wonderful guy. He's an awesome communicator. He's I'd say he's a little bit better at me a lot of the times in laying out the real libertarian lowdown. He was obviously universally liked. He was endorsed by a lot more of the caucuses than I was. He had a very broad appeal, and I was very, very lucky to have chosen him to be directed to him. And he was definitely very funny. He's a lot of fun. We definitely did campaigny things together and apart, and he's just a joy to work with. I was a little sad, of course, that he caught a fair amount of flack for his association with me. That Nipplegate, apparently, on his he did that Libertarian bod calendar, and well, he wasn't doing that, of course, but his nipples, and people were freaking out on his nipples, and his promises for free cheesy bread with every demolition permit from the ATF and all of those things. So I think he's the best candidate that we could possibly have in that position. I'm very, very happy and very excited for him. I get a little scared when I see him out there on that campaign trail because he is compromised, but he is doing what he needs to do as a national candidate. And of course, if I had received that the nomination, I would have no choice to be out there too. But I do, so I'm lying low, baby. And we will certainly see how it plays out. I mean, I believe that he is still Team Supreme, and he came over and he wanted very much to spread the word of nonlinear messaging and compassion and love and all those things. He was fully on board with that message, and he joined my campaign with the implicit intention of seeing me become the nominee.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a little bit of a fusion ticket in a sense, that the freaky deaky end of the party, not that he is, but I don't think he identifies like that, but because he was with us and the people saw that he was a very strong candidate. So yeah, I think it's great.
Okay.
And we'll see what plays in 2024. I mean, obviously he'll be in a better position, and hell, I might have to be his vice president.
You'd be a great vice president. You could do all the showmanship for him while he tries to be an executive, I guess.
Yeah,
but
no, there's some arguments to be made that we'll see how it goes.
We'll see. Okay, let's go to our next question. So Michelle asks, what are your thoughts about living off the grid?
If you can live off the grid and be comfortable with that, yes, sure, of course. Why not? The lower your footprint is, the less your needs, the less you're hooked into the consumer culture. I live with my wife. No kids, no pets, no credit card debts. We've been living very low rent lifestyle forever. Dumpster diver, all of those things, and just decreased our needs to the point where we didn't have to be on that treadmill. It's once you're on there, then you're locked into the rat race, and paying off all your bills and paying off all the interest on all your bills and all the interest on all your loans. And I think that's part of the argument of the college debt crisis. Can you educate yourself? Can you learn something more? I mean, is it worth the investment of your time in that money, and will it pay off? Or or will you be paying 30 years off something that you couldn't get a job doing anyway?
Yeah.
And of course it's really weird just living in a consumer-based economy.
Yeah.
Where it is based on people buying crap that they don't need. So what does happen when people stop buying the crap they need? I guess the economy crashes, but the economy is currently crashing, and people are realizing that they don't need shit and can't afford to buy shit anymore, and are really prioritizing the resources that they do have, and are trying to figure out how to make them last, and how to live as low rent as possible. For a lot of people, I think that's becoming a reality. So yeah, keep a shout out to all the dumpster driver collectives.
Let's go with one last question here. I think this is a great one. What's the best way, in your experience, to convince friends to go get involved in direct action and boots on the ground? Like, what do you think? Like, I know for my own self, when I talk to some of my friends, they're like, it's not going to make a difference if I go out there. How do you try to convince people?
It'll be fun.
Yeah, goes back to fun. Yeah.
How much fun are we going to have on the streets?
Yep.
And trying to get them over their preconceived notions and their fears, and trying to understand that they can do it as safely as they can, and that exercising their rights as an American is a very, very important thing. We have the right to assemble and the right to petition our government for a petition of our redress our grievances, and that it does make a difference. I mean, protest is the only thing that has made a difference in this country.
Exactly. Yeah.
Time and time again, it's ended wars. It's gotten people the right to vote. It's really changed things, and can see, and obviously with the discussion over all the riots and the violence and the burning of police stations, and this country has a history of semi or violent uprisings and upheavals, and when people are at the end of their rope and things are just too mucked up, that and something sparks it and something happens, and we are currently at a very critical juncture, a critical phase. The environment's collapsing, the economies are collapsing, the governments are clamping down, and you're not going to have any choice.
Yeah. But I have to ask, is the boot on your head a symbol of that we need more boots on the ground? Like, what's the symbology behind the boot?
Well, once again, the boot, it's a magic boot. It contains the magic. It's allowed me to exponentially amplify my free speech millions of times. It's allowed me to communicate with millions of people across the globe and interface with media around the flat earth. It is a symbol of all that is good in America. As I say, the ability to wear a rubber boot on your head if you want to. Sometimes I will tell the media that the boot is a pile of shit and that they are the flies that buzz around it. It is indeed an attention magnet. If I walk into the room, definitely, what is that? What is going on? It is not. It's a signifier to people that I'm approaching, that what they might be on the receiving end of may not be linear, might not be interesting. I think the best part is if you take my photograph and show in any situation, any time, any place, any crowd, with anybody, and show it to a kid and say, "Hey, kid, what's wrong with this picture?" They're going to say, "That man has a boot on his head because he's not normal." And so it's a simple and elegant and effective part of this communication strategy.
Do you have a variety of boots, or do you have like one main boot that contains magic?
It's sort of like the Batman movie when you go down there and choose which boot will I need for this mission. Good. And then my butler pushes the button and the thing goes up and the nitrogen smoke comes.
Awesome. Well, I've been thrilled to speak with you. I hope that we do slip into the timeline of Vermin Supreme presidency, because I would love to see that pony economy just blow up.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
thank you.
It was a pleasure getting to talk with you today. You're welcome back anytime. I wish you the best of luck in those in-person protests because we need more people like you helping the crowds out there.
Well, thank you very much. I do give workshops on the use of the use of the megaphone and the tactics of de-escalation. We're going to try and make a video how to on for the institute share that knowledge for sure. Let's see, verminsupremeinstitute.com.
Okay.
verminsupreme2020.com.
What about the pony website again?
It was what,
iPonybook.com.
iPonybook.com. Okay.
On TikTok, the real Vermin Supreme on TikTok.
Real Vermin Supreme.
At Vermin Supreme on Twitter. Vermin Supreme for President, blue check mark on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's an Instagram or two that are sort of official. I think there's a Reddit and a Discord out there, and probably a bunch of other things that I'm not even aware of. So.
Yeah, well, you are ever present, and it was so much fun getting to talk with you, man. Please, anytime you'd like, we'd love to have you back on. But I hope you have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much for staying with us today.
Thank you very much, and remember, together we will ride our ponies into a zombie-powered future. Thank you. Now, once again, Ponotopia, not all of us will make it. Oh, no, there will be sacrifices, human sacrifices. But let me assure you this, that the road to Ponotopia will be paved with the glitter of our vanquished foes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, everyone.
Well, that was epic.
Vermin Supreme. That was epic.
Yeah.
You know what? I had so much fun. Heidi, we're gonna have to want to get him back at some point. There's so much more to talk about with that man and his imagination.
So much more. I really want to have him back. There's a lot we could still go into, but I mean, so many gems in there. Especially love the part about bringing the fun to politics and making sure that we keep it fun, so we keep people activated and get rid of that fear. And the way to kill fear is with fun and love, and the opposite of fear. So I love what Vermin Supreme has done to bring that levity, a humor and fun and satire and deep statements posing as jokes, but really, if you think about them, so much more of a deep statement.
Listen. Yeah, it's such an innovative method. I do think, for some of the serious ones, they have to get really involved, because if they'll see it, they're like, they're not serious. But once you listen, there's a lot of symbology behind some of the what might seem unorthodox proposals that he has. So I really enjoy getting to hear him, and honestly learning a little bit more about the Libertarian Party itself, because that kind of balance that they're striking is a little bit appealing. But yes, he's right. The right side of it is a little dominant. But there's so much more to dive into, so hopefully he'll come back. With that being said, folks, if you liked today's video, please like,
share,
subscribe, share, all those great things. You know how to make a channel grow. Please do it. And people are going to enjoy watching some Vermin content. So with that being said, let's also give you a couple plugs of upcoming content that we have. So tomorrow we're talking with Demo Draft. It'll be myself and them. We're exploring their new program that they built. It's two people from the University of Berkeley. They're Yang Yang members. And it's this platform that helps people crowdfund potential campaigns without necessarily forking over the money. Then next week, we got Monday with Adrienne Bell. She has already won her primary, and she's gearing up for a general election campaign. So we look forward to talking with her about her campaign in Texas. Then Tuesday, we have... Who do we got Tuesday? Oh, we got Liam O'Mara. He's coming back to the program again. So this will be the first time, Heidi, you're going to get to meet Liam O'Mara. So anything you want to focus with him? I know a lot about Liam. So what are you looking to talk to Liam about then?
There's a lot of things. I'd like to clarify his stance on wealth tax and talk a little bit about his concerns about value-added tax. So I'd like to get more into that, funding mechanisms for some of his programs that I'd like to talk about.
Awesome. So yeah, that's the content we're going to leave you with for now. We have much more planned, but we want to make sure you know what's coming before we have full bloom again. Again, everyone, every day, Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So we'll see you all again tomorrow. I hope you guys are staying safe out there. I love you all. And as always, I hope you guys are staying rosy.
Bye.